Want to hear from Bob Fitzgerald?
I heard it earlier and I thought of you.
You did?
Yeah, because you're both from Foster City, and you're both, quite frankly, cut from the same cloth. And by cloth, I mean
what
pom-pom.
What are you saying?
Do you have to be a homer?
Well,
couldn't have said it better myself, Larry Krueger.
Are you saying that I'm going to agree with exactly what Bob Fitzgerald says right here?
You will be more agreeable to what he said than most other human beings who hear it. That's
sure
my prediction.
That? You sure?
I'm not positive. I'm not going to bet on it. I already owe you a box of donuts for a lost bet.
Yeah, you do. I don't even own pom-poms. I don't.
I'm not surprised.
I mean, I would.
Thank you.
Right? If somebody knows where I could get some giant pom-poms, that'd be great.
Get the one on the stick, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Give me a G.
Totally.
Give me an I. Anyway.
F-F-F-A-R-H-H-H-A-N. Spells Farhan.
Stop.
You're welcome.
Stop. I already did the I was wrong rant. You want me to do it again?
No, we're good.
All right.
I like where we are with this Bob Fitzgerald stuff.
So Bobby Fitz comes on with Steiny and Guru, and the subject matter comes up about the Warriors being able to compete next season and roster construction. Take a listen to part one. This is a 2-part series from Bob Fitzgerald. Here is part one.
Draymond Green missed 27 games, and the Warriors still won 46 games and won 25 games on the road. You're not going to tell me that this wasn't a 53 or 54 win team if Draymond played, some of those 27 games. So where would 52 wins got you? It would have got you the 4 seed. You would have had a home court advantage in round 1. Dallas won 50 games. They went to the finals. So Boston was better than everybody this year. Okay, they won 64. They were the best team all year. They deserved it. They won the title. But you could throw a dart on 7 other teams starting next year. Could Minnesota get hot? I did the Western Conference Finals with ESPN Radio. Saw Minnesota up close with Dallas. Could Minnesota get hot? Sure. Could Oklahoma City get hot? Sure. Did Denver blow a 20-point lead at home in Game 7? That's shocker to me because I think Denver's amazing. Could Milwaukee get everything going again with Giannis? Of course they could. But so could the Warriors.
Okay. Buy or sell?
I'm selling that. And, the Draymond part of it is what everybody wants to say because he missed 27 games. And if he played some of those games, they're a 53 or 54 win team. And now they're the 4 seed. That's tall cotton for me. I'm not willing to go that far with the what if scenario of last year.
Okay. 888-957-9570. And this is something that was, I think, a hot sort of debate 2 months ago. Warriors as a play-in team, and then they get blown out by Sacramento, and the what-if game starts immediately. And I think the most common what-if was if Draymond had been healthy. If Draymond hadn't gotten himself suspended twice, then the Warriors could have easily won 5 or 6 more games and been in a completely different spot. And if they were in a different spot, could they have been the lucky team to come out of the West? The Mavericks did it as the 5 seed. So does that wash with you? Draymond not suspended, Warriors are the 5 seed. Do you buy that? Now, that's only part one.
Right.
There is part 2. Take a listen to this.
How many teams, when you start looking, Boston has 6 really good players, but if you have Steph and Clay and Draymond and Kuminga and Podziemski and Trace Jackson Davis and Moses Moody, you have so many good players already that this whole the Warriors are done and they need to trade 17 dudes and change their whole roster. No. They can't have Draymond miss 27 games, just like Jokic couldn't miss 27 games, or Giannis couldn't miss 27 games, or Luka couldn't miss 27 games. The NBA, if your best players play a lot of games, you'll get the max results for your team. Last year, the Warriors had one of their absolute core pieces, indispensable guys, miss 27 games. And I think if you look at, the last part of the season when Trace and Draymond started together, they're top 10 in defense. Oh, wait, they're top 10 in offense. They start winning games. I'm very excited about where the Warriors are going because I know Kuminga will be better. I know Brandon will be better. I know Trace will be better. I know Moses will be better.
I love it.
So, so to me, this whole, the Warriors need to trade half their roster, I don't buy it at all. I just don't.
Okay. First of all, Guru with an A-plus performance during these sound clips.
Always. I mean, he's excited because he's.
Oh, no.
Bob is basically backing up what he's been saying to Steiny ever since the year ended, especially the part about, if Draymond didn't miss those games, that's been a big Guru narrative. Not that he came up with it, but he's definitely one who believes it.
I find this point that Bob's making to be two things at the same time.
The second point, or both?
Both of them.
Okay.
The whole idea is all one answer. It's just kind of like we stopped it here and then we kept it going. I find it to have two characteristics. One is it can't be proven wrong. It can't be proven wrong.
Right, or right. It can't be proven right either.
Well,
it's a belief. It's his opinion.
Do the Warriors have some good players? Do they have a handful of good players? Is it...
That's subjective, but
right? Okay. And is it reasonable to think if Draymond doesn't get suspended, their record is better? Just better. I'm not going to say 5 seed, 4 seed, 3 seed. Better.
It's more likely that it's better than it's worse, but when he plays, you don't know what could happen.
All right. So here are the two words that I'm going to place on Bob's point. Number one.
Highly delusional?
Reasonable.
Oh, okay.
Number two. Terrifying.
What's terrifying? The idea of running it back?
The idea that the Warriors would feel optimistic about staying the same. I find to be a terrifying proposition, and here's why. I would like to state this with clarity. This season sucked so bad. This thing got to the end. It feels like I haven't seen the Warriors play in 4 years.
It's been a while.
I am not used to this. I still think that that's a little privileged. I mean, I grew up as a Warrior fan who never saw a playoff game.
Yeah.
But we have now been conditioned a different way. And the idea that the Warriors finish in April and then we just meander through crappy series with sort of wannabe superstars. We can't even figure out who the NBA Finals MVP is. We're like, you get it. Hey, Jalen, sure, whatever. That idea, I think, is so damaging. And I do not want this to happen again. And even if what you're saying is reasonable, Bob, which I think it is, it also feels to me like you're signing up for something that is too flimsy. You can't be a great team if you are one player getting one suspension away from no longer being a good team. That to me says you're not a good team. Boston lost Kristaps Porzingis for most of the playoffs. Didn't blink. Is he their most important player? Definitely not. Is he one of their most 4 important players? Definitely. And they didn't even blink. So to be a great team, I think you need to be fortified in a way where you're able to handle a little bit of adversity. Because the idea that you're going to go play without adversity is unrealistic. Who does that? Who just gets all of their guys all the time? So that to me is actually kind of the definition of a team that doesn't have enough. And the idea that the Warriors are going to go through without adversity as all of them move into their mid to late 30s is increasingly an unlikely proposition. So that doesn't work for me. If you stay the same, you get worse. I've always believed that. That's a motto. No matter what.
Even though your young players are going to get better. And he said that Moses is getting better, and Trace is getting better, and Brandon's getting better, and Jonathan's getting better.
You actually don't know that. Just because someone's a year older.
Well, that's what he is presupposing. He's presupposing that all four of those guys are going to get better.
Then that was
part of his answer.
Then you have to presuppose that the older ones are going to get worse. And it maybe cancels each other out. Because if we're just going to assume that because Trace Jackson Davis is a year older, that he's automatically better, then I get to assume that Steph Curry is going to be worse. He's on the downside of his career.
That's where I would use the word delusional to talk about that second part of it and bringing back the same group. To me, it becomes the definition of insanity. And you did have a pretty good run this year, other than Draymond's suspension.
You did.
Steph only missed a handful. Clay only missed a couple of games, and those were load management games. And Wiggins missed just the 1 week due to personal issues. You, by and large, were healthy this year. And look at their record against the good teams in the association. They were bad against the good teams. So if you want to play the what-if game, if Draymond played more of the 27 games he missed, would you have won 50, 51, 52? You're allowed to do that. You're right. I can't prove you wrong. It's just a belief. But you can't tell me that that team would be any better if he played in those games. They might have won a couple more games, but you weren't very good against the good teams even when he played.
Yeah. I just, to me, an 888-957-9570, do you buy or sell the idea that the Warriors can largely compete by staying the same? 888-957-9570. We'll take some calls on that. I think we've reached a point where we can't only make this about last year. You have to loop in the year before as well. And that wasn't a terrible year. You made the second round of the playoffs. My gosh, you had to scratch and claw to go 7 games to get out of the first round. But that, too, was a team that was largely blessed with the health that it wanted when you got to the end and was not able to get out of the second round and almost lost in the first round. And while that's not terrible, that's not a terrible season, I would say that to ignore that things are getting harder each year is just not the way to go. It's you can't ignore that the Warriors are getting further away, and I think wrap all of that up into one answer, which is Draymond missed 27 games. I think it's way more complex than that, and I think that allows you to ignore some other truths that are evident.
And they're outside your control, I think, such as the other teams are getting better. So if you're going to presuppose that younger players are going to get better, then take that same belief and take it to Oklahoma City, take it to Houston, a team that had a very good second half with younger players. Take it to Portland. Take it to all these other teams that have some good young players. Minnesota with Anthony Edwards. Well, he's going to get better because he's a younger player. So all these other teams around you have to, at the same time, get better. And Memphis is going to get Ja Morant back fully, and they're going to be better. So I look around, and yeah, if you bring all these Warriors back, you're not going to be a terrible team, but I don't see how you suddenly become a 50-plus win team.
Correct me if I'm wrong. As we were listening to that, he started listing off all of these good players. He did not use the name Andrew Wiggins.
I think you're absolutely right on that.
Is that accurate?
And he did mention Clay, which I was going to ask you what you thought about that, because Bob is a guy who's in the know, and I don't know if you heard this part of the interview, but he golfs with Steph Curry, and it sounds like he golfs with him a lot. They're friends. They're boys. So I would imagine that Bob had, and I wish Spadoni was still here because he missed out on some great drop opportunities on Fitz as he was talking about golfing with the chef. But I wonder, because he made it sound almost matter of fact, like, with Clay back, play that second cut again and listen for Andrew Wiggins.
How many teams, when you start looking, Boston has 6 really good players, but if you have Steph and Clay and Draymond and Kuminga and Podziemski and Trace Jackson Davis and Moses Moody, you have so many good players already that this whole the Warriors are done and they need to trade 17 dudes and change their whole roster. No, They can't have Draymond miss 27 games, just like Jokic couldn't miss 27 games, or Giannis couldn't miss 27 games, or Luka couldn't miss 27 games. The NBA, if your best players play a lot of games, you'll get the max results for your team. Last year, the Warriors had one of their absolute core pieces, indispensable guys, miss 27 games. And I think if you look at, the last part of the season when Trace and Draymond started together, they're top 10 in defense. Oh, wait, they're top 10 in offense. They start winning games. I'm very excited about where the Warriors are going because I know Kuminga will be better. I know Brandon will be better. I know Trace will be better. I know Moses will be better.
I love it.
So to me, this whole, the Warriors need to trade half their roster, I don't buy it at all. I just don't.
Okay, so here's another thing.
Stop.
Here's another thing I noticed. Not just did he leave Andrew Wiggins' name out of this.
A couple times.
I am a huge fan of not just Draymond. I'm a huge fan of the idea that Draymond is an indispensable player. I agree with Bob calling him an indispensable player. However, we're a little over the top with what he compared it to. The Warriors without Draymond is not Denver without Jokic. It is not Dallas without Luka. And it is not Milwaukee without Giannis. You are elevating Draymond Green, in my opinion, to a place where he does not belong. He is an incredible player. He's a unique player. He is a needed player. He is not Jokic, Luka, or Giannis. He's not that. And he's not that to the Warriors. So the Warriors should be able to win more basketball games without Draymond than Denver can without Jokic.
Right.
You're talking about MVP consideration, perennial players right now when you mention those names. So Denver, if the Warriors lose Draymond, that's like Denver losing Michael Porter Jr. or Aaron Gordon, I would argue, not Jokic. That's different. And you have to be able to function without those players sometimes. 27 games is a little hot of a number.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to function without those guys if you want to call yourself a complete team.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, you look at the record with Draymond, they were 33-22 in the games that he actually did play. So maybe that's what Bob's referring to, the fact that
they're better with him, of course.
A little bit better, or significantly better, rather.